Where do I get the information I use to go ahead and do the videos I do on Mormonism? Do I get it from Wikipedia? Do I get it from eyewitness sources? Do I just find any website to pull the information from? This video is going to let you know where I get this information. Hey, what's up? Welcome back to C4C Apologetics. I'm your host with the most, or at least your host with a little bit of toast. I actually had French toast this morning. Does that really count as toast? I don't know. Let me know in the comments below, but I love making French toast. You mix a little bit of egg, salt, pepper, you get some cinnamon in there. I got an electric griddle, about a 24-inch griddle top, and then you just throw it on there, spray it with a little non-stick stuff. That's what I have for lunch. So I'm your host with the most that ate a little bit of toast. And so in case you were wondering what I like to eat, let me know in the comments below if you like toast or if you like French toast. And is French toast really toast? What makes toast toast? I don't know. Sometimes I go on these rabbit trails. But anyways, like the intro said, where do I get the information to do these Mormon videos? Well, I'm glad you asked. And if you haven't asked, I'm glad you thought about it. And if you haven't thought about it, well, I'm just glad you're here checking out this video. Go ahead, like, comment, subscribe. You know what to do. Share this video with everybody else. So first and foremost, I sort of break this down into three categories. One category is directly inside the LDS church. What do I use? The second category are those that came outside of the LDS church. What sources do I use? And the third category is anybody that's just never been inside the LDS church, but they've done exhaustive research on it. What do I use? And so I do use some things outside of these, but these are the main areas where I'm getting information. And so first off, right off the bat, this guy. This is the Book of Mormon. And if you look on the bottom, it says, please accept with our compliments. And I will gladly accept every single one. If I have a copy of it, that means somebody else does not have a copy of it. But you'll find these in the drawers at the Marriott hotels. So anytime you stay at a Marriott hotel, go ahead and open up that nightstand drawer, typically between the two beds or beside the one bed, depending on what bedroom setup you get. And you'll find this book along with the Gideon Bible, if you will, right there. What I typically do is I'll take this, I'll throw it in my backpack, my suitcase, and I'll take the Gideon Bible. Excuse me, got the hiccups. And I'll open up the Gideon Bible to John 3:16, and I'll sort of point to it, reference it, whatever the case is. And so I get a lot of information out of this guy. And now if you can tell, I do have a few Book of Mormons. And I don't believe this is all of them. I think I have some at the house as well. And I have some that I've given out also. So what I typically do is I'll take this little guy right here and I'll read through it. I'll read certain passages like 2 Nephi and chapter 26, 2 Nephi chapter 12. I'll read in Mosiah and Enos and Helaman. And I'll make notes. I'll underline things. I'll dog-ear stuff. Things that I find that doesn't align with scripture. Things that I find that don't align with history. And things that really speak on the fact of the LDS Church teaches a works-based salvation. And so the first thing really is this Book of Mormon. Outside the Book of Mormon, you got what's known as the Doctrine and Covenants, and you have the Pearly Great Price. Now, I think I have videos on these, but this is one that actually has all three of these books together in one. And this is really the one that I reference the most. This particular one I found in a thrift store. Out here, they got a thrift store where you can buy hardback books for 50 cents and paperback books for $0.25. And there's some really good books. Not this one, but other ones. Theology books and practical Christian living books. Really good. So you could walk away with like 10 books for like $3. It's really awesome. But that's where I found this. But I also look at Doctrine and Covenants and the Pearly Great Price, because what these are, Doctrine and Covenants, are supposed revelations given to Joseph Smith. In Doctrine and Covenants, it talks about polygamy and the fact that God had instituted polygamy. Then also it talks about certain prophecies that Joseph Smith had made, like every single nation in the world would be involved in the Civil War, and we know that's not the case. And the fact that the Mormon headquarters was not going to be in Utah, but rather it's going to be in Missouri, and that the temple is going to be reared up before Joseph Smith dies, and we know that's not the case. And so I'm getting a lot of my information straight from the horse's mouth right here in the Doctrine and Covenants, Pearly Great Price, as well as the Book of Mormon itself. Now, unless you're really solid and grounded in your faith, you really know what you believe and you really know why you believe it, and you're firmly rooted in the foundations of Christ, I wouldn't recommend you going to those books and trying to read through it and trying to understand what's the difference between Mormonism and Christianity. And so I wouldn't encourage you for that to be your first step. Just like these next books I'm going to talk about, I would encourage you not to have these be your first steps either, because we just don't want any of this to trip any new believer up, any young believer up, anybody that's not firmly founded in the truths of Jesus Christ in the Bible. And so, but if you are firmly grounded, I encourage you, take a look at those, make notes in them, find the differences, and that's where I'm getting my information. But this book right here, this is called The Gospel Principles. And basically what this is if you open up and you look at the chapters, it pretty much talks about a lot of their topics, their doctrines, if you will, their topics, what they believe about certain aspects, and the Church of Jesus Christ in former times. It talks about the sacraments that they do. It talks about their view on the gifts of the Spirit. And so a lot of times I'll find information out of this, which is, again, a Church of Jesus Christ publication that actually speaks against Scripture and speaks against what a church has believed ever since the time of the apostles up through the years. Then you have what's known as the teachings of the presence of the church. Now, I only have a couple of these. I had one or two others. I don't know what happened to them. Maybe they got lost in a move or something like that. But basically what these are certain teachings that these LDS presidents have taught on. Our missionary duty, the teachings of integrity. Now, sometimes these are more like devotions, if you will. But what I enjoy about these, if I could use the word enjoy, is the fact that they show how LDS teachings and doctrines sort of change through the years. And so where Joseph Smith believed and taught something, then Brigham Young came on the scene, then Lorenzo Snow, and then you got the John Taylor and all the others. It shows the changing of doctrine. So those are the main books that I use for those inside the church to go ahead and find the information for my videos. So outside of that, those books that I use that are inside the church, I also speak to people who came out of the LDS Church. Now, if you go to our Mormon LDS playlist, you'll find interviews. We've interviewed Michael Wilder. We've interviewed Lynn Wilder, basically. Oh, and we've interviewed Joseph Warren. Now, Michael Wilder came out of the Mormon Church. He was a missionary. I'm about to talk about that here in a second. Joseph Warren was his missionary partner, and they both came out of the Mormon Church more or less together. And then Lynn Wilder is an ex-BYU professor, yes, at BYU, and she was pretty high in the rankings there. And she came out of the Mormon faith because of her son Micah in his testimony. And so what I would recommend is, this is a book from Micah Wilder. It's called Passport to Heaven. And basically this chronicles his journeys of growing up and becoming part of the Mormon Church, his Mormon missions trip, what had happened on that missions trip, and then a whole bunch of stuff outside of that. And so I would encourage you to read this. This is more like an autobiography. And then Lynn Wilder, Dr. Lynn Wilder, this is her book called Unveiling Grace. And basically she does very similar. She talks a little bit about her upbringing, her understanding, her involvement with the Mormon Church. And then she talks about the different aspects of getting out of the Mormon Church. And so this is a great book to add to your library as well if you want to go ahead and understand more about the Mormon Church, the Mormon religion, from those that were actually involved in it, and very influential, if you will. As you can tell, this is not a very thin book. This is actually 362 plus pages. And so I highly recommend this book as well. Joseph Warren and Michael Wilder and Dr. Lynn Wilder I interviewed. They're on the Mormon LDS playlist here. You can check them out. A lot of questions that I asked them. Micah and Joseph Warren are a part of a ministry called Adams Road Ministry, and basically they do testimony times. They go out to churches and different events. They give their testimony while also playing and singing praise songs. And so, fantastic. So if you haven't heard of Adams Road Ministry, I would highly encourage you to check it out. So that was books inside the church, books that came from those that came out of the church. Now, this last one is a book from somebody that I don't believe has ever been in the LDS Church, but he's done some exhaustive research, not just on Mormonism, but on all false religions, if you will. And if any of you have been looking into people that have studied these false religions, if you know anybody that has done exhaustive, extensive research, you've probably come across the name of Dr. Walter Martin, the late Dr. Walter Martin. Now, this is his book. Sometimes I take the covers off of books. And I don't know why I do it. You know, sometimes they're just annoying because they keep sliding off, whatever the case is. But I took the cover off this book. But this one is The Kingdom of the Cults. Now, he does have another one. There's one over there on my bookshelf. It's called Kingdom of the Occult, and it really talks about occultic religions, the occult, Satanism, things like that. But this one actually breaks down a lot of different religions. And as you can tell, it's a pretty hard, solid, thick book. And this one is over 670 pages. And then basically this will talk about a whole lot of religions, if you will. For instance, let's get to the table of contents. Are you interested in Jehovah's Witness, Christian Science, LDS, Spiritism, the Theosophical Society, which we did something on there with Helena Blavatsky, Buddhism, the Baha'i Faith, Unitarian, Scientology, Eastern religions, Unification Church, the New Age cult, Islam, the cults of the world, mission field, the Jesus of the cults, cult evangelism, and many more. And so basically, this would be a fascinating book if you're curious about not just Mormonism, but you're curious about world religions, false religions as a whole. Dr. Walter Martin is your guy. And so those are the books that I use to go ahead and do my Mormon video. You got Walter Martin, you got Teachings of LDS Presidents, you got the Gospel Principles, you got Unveiling Grace, you got Passport to Heaven, you got interviews on there from Joseph Warren, who came out of the Mormon Church as well. And then you have your Book of Mormons, Doctrine and Covenants, Pearl of Great Price, and like I said, Marriott Books of Mormons. And so if you want to go ahead and get a Book of Mormon from the Marriott, but you do not want to keep it, you can feel free to send it to me. The link for our church is in the comments description below, and I will gladly add it to our list. What my intentions are, like I said that I do in the past, is I'll make notes in each of these. I'll dog-ear them, use them as an apologetics tool. Then I'll give them to people that are interested. That way, when there's a Mormon at the door, you at least have something you can use to not argue with them, but yes, Pastor Ken, to discuss with them. Not necessarily how wrong LDS is, but to discuss with them the freedom there is within the relationship of Jesus Christ. Not the relationship of Joseph Smith, but the relationship of Jesus Christ. So that's it for this video. Like Abraham Lincoln said, you can't believe everything you read on the internet. And so I don't get very much information from the internet. I get it from first-hand sources, second-hand sources, tertiary sources, those that have proven themselves to be accurate and fair-minded. So that's that. Go ahead and don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, share, everything else. I don't know what else there is, but if there is, do it. Let me know in the comments below how wrong I am, what you think. Again, I do read every comment. I can't reply to every single comment. I try to. And if your comment hasn't posted, it's probably held in review because for whatever reason, the system may think it's spam. But I will approve those comments so long as there's no profanity, vulgarity, things like that. And we'll put it out there. And so until next time, God bless.